Today, we are going to be doing a ranking video. So our last ranking stream, I thought went so great. It was fantastic. It was ranking what type of queer all the Final Fantasy VII characters are. We had a great time. I mean, I had a great time. I hope you had a great time. And then the video did well. And then I was like, I think we should kind of do, arguably more of these, you know? So here we are. Today we are gonna be ranking which Animal Crossing character is most likely to call you a slur, which is very exciting. It's something I've thought about, you know, in the original Animal Crossing games, your neighbors were a lot meaner, which I also think made it a little bit more fun sometimes. But I do think some of the Animal Crossing characters in New Horizon would definitely say some shit. They made him a little too nice. They could make him a little bit meaner. Look at my bangs crooked, you guys. I'm gonna crash out right now. My hair, is my hair okay? Is it, oh my God, you guys, Mondays, am I right? Sir! We've got down here all of our Animal Crossing villagers and NPCs, and of course, our favorite Animal Crossing character, Brisk Apollo. Our first category is absolutely would call you a slur and would repeat it. If you were like, wait, what did you say? They'd be like, oh, let me say it again. Second is would say it to your face. We've got would on the internet, but would not in person. We've got would, but would deny it. We've got would whisper it. We've got would, but wouldn't know what it means. Like they heard it somewhere and they think it's like a cool slang, and then you tell them and they're like, what? Oh my God. We've got would not. We've got would not and would be shook at the idea of it. We've got would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. We got would not and would cry, and then this new category, which I don't need. So we gotta start with Mr. Tom Nook. That just feels right. Would Tom Nook call you, what am I hearing? Ghosts? No, I'm hearing Spotify. All right, would Tom Nook call you a slur? I think Tom Nook would whisper it. I think as you're walking away, he would be like, and you say, what's that? He goes, what? And you go, what? And you go, okay, bye-bye. You know what I mean? But it'd be under his breath. No, hear me out. Okay, wait, Fen's cooking right now. Oh, that's actually, Fen, that's true. That's a good point. He does not put a limit on paying your house if there's no debt. Okay, I'm gonna go with would but wouldn't know what it means, actually. That's right, would but wouldn't know. Like, he heard like Isabel say it, you know, and he's like, oh, that must be some new young person slang. And so he says it to you and you're like, whoa, Tom, you can't just say that to somebody. And he's like, well, why? Isn't it like a funny slang? Or like he says it and people like look at him wrong, and then Timmy and Tommy have to be like, okay, so you can't say that. That's actually really bad. And he's like, oh, good heavens, you know? I think that's true. He's very progressive. I think he would say it in the way where he would not know what it means, but then he would like, you know, he'd be taught and he'd be like, what? I said what publicly to a villager? You know, he'd send like a flower basket as an apology. He'd send like some fruit, but the fruit would be from your own tree in your front yard, but he'd be like, you haven't paid the house off yet, so technically it's my tree in your front yard, but still it's good fruit, and I saved you the trouble of picking it. Sorry for calling you that. Totally did not mean to. My bad. Admiral, now this is where I need your guys' help here, because some of you are gonna know more villagers than I do. I'm not gonna know all the villagers. I know most of the villagers, you know what I mean? But there's some I'm gonna need you guys to be like, no, absolutely. Admirable is a cranky male. Admiral, I don't know, Admiral, the vibes I'm getting for Admiral, I'm getting would not. Admiral as a cranky seems like he stays in his lane. You know, he seems like he's got his own projects, he's got his own shit going on. I don't think he needs the drama. In fact, he strikes me as somebody who wants to just be left alone. He wants peace, he wants quiet, he wants $1 million so he could have an island all to himself. You know, just to him with nobody else around him. So he would not, but mainly because he hates people in general. All right, we got Agent S, the squirrel. Agent S. Female is very peppy. I'm looking at the picture of Agent S, and I'm kind of thinking Agent S is a Cancer. Yeah. I'm gonna say Agent S would but would deny it. Okay, Agent S like would say it, and you'd say, what was that? And she'd say, what was that? You'd say, well, no, I didn't say anything. You know what I mean? That's what I think Agent S would do. I think that she doesn't find it offensive. She's like, it's just words. You know what I mean? We're all too sensitive is in her mind. But I think she would say it and then be like, no, I didn't say anything, because she knows it's not appropriate. You know, she knows that it's a bad thing to say, but also in her own little weird protest way, she's got to say it. You know, that's what I think. Oh, we got Agnes. Oh, Agnes is sweet and big sister. Agnes, I'm gonna say would not and would be shook at the idea of it. You said, did you just call me this? She'd be like, what? No, oh my God, what? And then she might, actually, I'm gonna change her. She would not and would cry. Would not and would cry. If she'd be like, someone called you that, and she would just start crying, and she would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry someone would call you that, and that's so mean, and then she'd like make you like a cup of tea, you know what I mean, and then she'd like, you know, like she's also, you know, been through the ringer. She's been bullied growing up, I'm sure. I don't know why I'm sure about that. She just looks like someone who's bullied in elementary school specifically. She would not only be devastated, but she would also cry. She would also be like, I you know, what'd you bring me? Oh my God, this bone she's bringing me is getting like more and more wet. You know what I mean? Oh fuck, hold on. Oh no, it all went wrong. All right, up next we got Alfonso. Alfonso's lazy. He's an alligator. I feel like Alfonso would say it on the internet, but would not say it in person. Alfonso would tweet it in an anonymous account. Alfonso would be a Redditor, like rage baiter, you know, but I think that he, in person, he'd be like, that's not my account. That's not my account. I don't know why you, but no, that's not me. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about me? Okay, so we got Alice. It is normal. I had Alice in one of the older games, for sure. I remember Alice. Alice would whisper it. I'll stay by. Alice is nice, but she's not that nice. Again, Alice minds her business. Alice is in her own world, in her own, you know, category. I believe that she would whisper it. If you would like, what'd you say? She'd say nothing. I believe she's very passive aggressive, you know? A lot of the normal villagers strike me as that kind of passive aggressive. Like they, like, you know what I mean? They're so nice, but then like, they're not really that nice. They're just being good neighbors, but they hate you. So that's what I feel. I feel like that's her, like she's a good neighbor. You can borrow a cup of sugar, and when she calls her mom on the phone, she's like, this fucking human, the only humans, am I right? Like she's kind of human racist. That's what I think. She'd whisper, but she doesn't want to outwardly be known as that, but that's how she feels. She's feeling it. Oh yeah, Spud for sure. Spud, I want to say with throw hands, Spud would not and would cry. If you told Spud you were being bullied or anything, he would just start sobbing. He would be like, he's just this very sensitive little guy. If you went to Spud and you were like, this happened to me, it would be devastating to him. He's also been called a lot of things, you know, and he would probably, because he doesn't really speak that much, he would cry and sob. He'd wipe his face on your shirt, boogers and all, and then he'd go and he'd get you like a candy bar, and he'd split the candy bar with you, but he's gonna eat his half while still crying and patting you on the knee. That's the visual I'm painting for Spud the Axolotl. Allie the alligator 100% would say it and would repeat it. She would say it loud and proud. She'd say it on the internet, and she'd stand by it. All right, and you'd say, Allie, that's really offensive, and she'd say, good, I hope it is. I hope it is offensive. I want you to be offended right now. And you'd be like, Allie, that's not like a cool, okay thing to say. And Allie would be like, I'm not trying to be cool. I'm trying to live my best life, okay? And if you happen to be in the way of that, then I'm gonna say it unapologetically. That's where Allie is. I believe Jack might say it, but wouldn't know what it means. I believe Jack would hear it, and someone would be like, that's a spooky thing to say. And he'd be like, ooh, a spooky thing to say? And then you'd be like, no, Jack. And he'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He may be into spookies and scaries, but he's not into like offensive stuff. You know what I mean? He's a respectful spooker. You know, he would never make somebody go through a haunted house where it would affect their heart issues. He would if you would enjoy it. He would push you a little bit if he thinks you might enjoy it. But I believe that he's not here to offend. He's here for a good time. Again, he might hear it and then repeat it, but then he would be like, what? and he'd feel bad. Again, Tom would be like, oh, that's weird, and send a basket, but I think Jack would feel actively bad. yeah, Jan's got it. Jack, that's a horrific thing to say. And he'd say, horror, say less. That'd be exactly it. We've got Al, who is lazy. Again, Al, somebody who would say it on the internet. Al would say it on the internet, and then you'd be like, is that you, Al? He's like, nah, for real, it's not me. For real, nah. You know, he doesn't even deny it that hard. You're like, Al, this is clearly you. There's pictures of you on this account. He'd be like, he'd shrug. Say, I don't know. Okay, we got Amelia, who is snooty. I think Amelia would not. Same with kind of Admiral. I'm gonna call him Admirable. Same with Admiral. She's minding her own business. She doesn't have time for you, to offend you, to make you feel better, to whatever. You know, if you do something nice for her, she's like, oh, that's okay, you're fine, you're aight. But other than that, you know, it's not like a huge thing for her. We got Annabelle the Anteater is peppy. Annabelle, what are you to me? Annabelle the Anteater. First of all, what a good name for an anteater. A+ to the namer of Annabelle. Hi, I don't have anything for you. If someone redeems you, I can give you something, but until you're redeemed, you're still going to hell. Guys, Oreo is going to hell. She's on her way right now. Only you can save her by redeeming her. So if you don't, and she's in hell for all of eternity, I want you to know that's on every single one of you as a viewer. That's on everybody here. Oh! What? It's true! What? All right, you can be you're going to heaven! You're going to heaven! Come here. Take her out. Congratulations, you've been saved. You've been saved by Fen. You've been saved. You're going to heaven. You're gonna go to the doggy heaven that has lots of toys and treats and bones and love. And yeah, no hell for you today. And it would have been New Year's. You know, you're going to heaven. You're starting 2026 is gonna be heaven year for you. Everything's gonna go your way and be amazing. Can I choose where she goes? What the fuck? Where do you want to send her, Fen? So, I'm a little curious. What's your, like, thought process? Can Fen choose where you go? You know what, Fen? Go for it. Noodle shop? You're going to noodle shop! Actually, there is a local noodle shop, a pho place that she loves, and she gets a little bowl every time. So that is heaven to her. Noodle shop would be, you know, heaven on earth for this one. All right, Annabelle the Anteater. I'm gonna also go with would not. I don't know that she'd necessarily be like shook that someone said it, or be sad or be mad for you. She would just be like, she just wouldn't. And if you're like, well, someone was mean to me once, she'd be like, that's a bummer. And she'd go on about her day. Anchovy the bird, lazy. Anchovy gives me the vibes that he would say it to your face. I feel that Anchovy, he wouldn't repeat it, he wouldn't whisper it, he would just say it in a sentence blatantly to you, and you'd say, did you say this? He goes, I don't know, I guess I did. Does not care, you know? Let's see, we got Agnes next, who is cranky. Agnes would not, and would throw hands at somebody who did. Agnes not only would be like, how dare you? Agnes would then turn around and be like, who said it to you? I've been saying their name wrong. Angus. But I'm sure Agnes, whoever you may be, is also that passionate. Angus would be like, who said it to you? I'm gonna mess him up. We got Anicotti, the mouse, preppy. I'm gonna say, again, just a general would not. She's minding her business. She doesn't care. She's living her best life. We got Anka. Okay, so Anka's one I have, so I know her. I'm torn on this because I have her as a villager, you know what I mean? It could go a lot of ways right now. I believe... Anka. I believe that she would not, and would be absolutely shook at the idea that you accused her of it, okay? How could you accuse her of saying something like that. It would become an offense. In fact, she would cancel you on the internet over it. She'd be like, Villager said this, and then she'd get like all the likes and subscribes. How could they think that about you, Anka? And she'd be like, buy my new Gucci Prada perfume and that'll make me feel better. She's an influencer, you know? I mean, look at her. You know, she's an OnlyFans girl, as we know. We all saw that video. She's got the posse to back it up. She would not, and she'd be offended that you would even think that she would. Annalisa the Anteater. I'm a sucker for these. What are these alliterations? These alliteration names. Annalisa the Anteater would but would not know what it meant, what it means, you know? She would say it, and then you'd be like, that's this, and she'd be like, no, that's not. What? No, that's not it. And then you'd have to like pull up like a Google thing, and she'd be like, oh, ooh, my bad. I believe Annalise would say it to your face. I believe Annalise would look at you and would say it to your face. Again, wouldn't need to repeat it, wouldn't need to be subtle. It would just be dropped in a sentence. You'd say, Annalise, you can't say that. And she's like, then why did it come out of my mouth? Boom. And then she'd do like a fake mic drop, but it'd be really hard because she has hooves, so she'd have to like do like this, you know? That's what would happen. Another Anteater, Antonio. Antonio's a jock. I would say would not and would be shook at the idea of it, but not in the way that Anka is, where she's like, how could you say that? But he'd be like, whoa, bruh. People say, what? That's crazy. That's crazy. Then we got Apollo. Apollo's a hard one for me. I had Apollo at one point on my island. Now here's okay. All right, I'm gonna need chat to jump in for this one because I do think Apollo was a good villager. He's a good neighbor, but Apollo is also kind of very USA coded, and he's born on the 4th of July, and he's like the very American character. And as we know, America as a country is a little problematic. And so I feel like because a representation of America and Americans in general, I say this as an American, I think he would and would repeat it. I believe that he would in the way that maybe he's like an older guy. So back in the day, you could say that and not get in trouble, but like you're like, Apollo, you can't say that anymore. And he's like, well, darn tootin' I can, you know. I think that he would repeat it, and he would stand by it. And if you told him you can't do that, he would say something like, oh, so people can't be funny anymore, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, Bond, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Apple, I also have. Apple 100% would whisper it. I said this as someone who has her as a villager. Apple would 100% on your way out be like, you say what? She goes, what? Okay, I'll see you later, bye-bye. She's peppy, she's happy, she's so sweet, and she would call you a slur, but she wouldn't do it directly, you know? She'd like, you'd be at the door, she'd be like, you'd whisper, and you'd say what? And she'd say what? And the wind, you know? That'd be her. Astrid, Kangaroo, I believe would not. Again, Astrid, I believe. Astrid's got also like a little baby situation going on here. I would actually say Astrid would not and be shook because Astrid's got like a child there. So she's like, first of all, why are you bringing that word up around my child? Yeah, would be shook. I would be like, don't say that to me ever again. Audie would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. She's giving homeschool parent. I agree. Astrid, very homeschool parent. Audie would not and would throw hands at someone. If Audie was like, who said that to you? Baby girl, who said that to you? Come over here. She would ask for names, she would ask for numbers, and then she wouldn't say anything else. And then you'd find out something happened to that person. You'd be like, Audie, was that you? And she'd be like, no, that's crazy, you know, but it was absolutely her. Aurora would not. Aurora's nice, Aurora's sweet. Aurora, again, look at those eyes. No thoughts, head empty. I don't think she knows enough. And like, you know what I mean? It's just not there for her. It's just not there for her. Ava. We got a chicken, Ava. We got, oh my God, you guys were homeschooled? Fem was homeschooled, but I was also homeschooled. Can I get a Let's Go Pro Gamer for the homeschoolers in the chat? Look at our lack of social skills have got us all here together. Wow. I'm gonna say also would not. Ava's like, Ava would not. Ava's like, yeah, you didn't know that, Bond? I was absolutely homeschooled. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Avery would whisper it. You know, it'd be a little bit like, and then be like, oh, what? No, I didn't say anything for sure. We got Axel. Amazing name, of course. Axel is a jock. I believe that Axel would not and would cry. But then he would cry. He'd cry for you. He'd cry with you. We're gonna go with Blathers. Yeah, we'll do a little Blathers. A little Blathers run, if you will. I think it's about time. Where's Blathers? Did I forget him? No, he's there. Oh, thank God. He's another one I would say wouldn't know what it means. In fact, Celeste would probably be the one to be like, hey, that's not cool. And he'd be like, what? He's another one. Oh, actually, Jan, that's a good point. He would cry. I'm going to change it. He would not and he would cry. He would cry at the idea of it. He would probably punish himself. He'd probably go into the bug exhibit that he hates and be like, I'm gonna stay in here for 1 hour as punishment for you even thinking that I did this, for me appearing to be that kind of person, you know? And then he would probably start like a museum event about kindness and like kind words and caring words and being careful what you say. Barbara would deny it. Barbara would say it and you'd say, did you say that? And she'd say, no, I didn't say that. Bam would not. Bam doesn't care enough. Bam, you know what I mean? Bam knows the words. He's heard the words. He doesn't, you know, he's like, I don't want to say them. I don't need that. Bangle, I do love Bangle. Bangle's another one who would not and would cry. Bangle's a sweetheart. Actually, I always wish I had Bangle on my island. She was so sweet. My friend had Bangle and I loved her. But Bangle, again, would cry for you, with you, at the idea of it. Controversial, we got Barreled. Barreled, everyone's least favorite ugly villager. You're all gonna hate this one. Would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. Barreled has been called every name in the book. Okay, Barreled has been through it as a creature. He's been kicked out of islands. He's been harassed. He's been, you know, he hasn't had an easy life, you know? And so when he hears that you've also been like ostracized, he would go to fight for your honor and then he would get his ass beat. He would end up broken bones. You know, he's not a good fighter, but he would do it for the principle of it. And then he'd want to make a friendship thing of like, it's okay, we'll stick together. And then like everybody else in the Animal Crossing universe, you'd probably be like, that's okay. Why don't you leave my island? And he'd be like, oh, okay. You know, very sad, but true. B would, but would deny it. B would, but would deny it. Berto absolutely wouldn't repeat it. Same thing as Apollo. Berto is old, and Berto, again, back in Berto's day, yeah, that was a cool thing to say. That was fine. You're trying to wokeify him. You know, that's just how people spoke. That's what I think. Bo's another one I know pretty well. Bo, I think, would whisper it. You know, again, subtly. Bo would be like, and you wouldn't know, but you'd know, but then he wouldn't admit it, and you can't prove it. And he knows you can't prove it. In fact, he might drop it a couple times because he knows that it's gonna make you feel like it's like you're crazy. You know what I mean? It's kind of a game for him. It's kind of a fun little thing. Nobody can prove it. Nobody knows. No, but listen. These are the hard takes someone's gotta have. We got Becky. Becky is a chicken. Becky Wood on the internet. She's a Redditor. She's got a blog, probably, you know, she's in person again. She's like, I would never say that. But then she goes online and commits atrocities. Bella. Okay, so I had Bella in New Leaf. Loved Bella. I thought a lot about Bella, right? As I always do. Bella would not and would throw hands at somebody who did, because Bella at the end of the day is punk rock, and being offensive and being racist and calling slurs is not very punk rock. Okay, you guys know like what Gerard Way, where, you know, he gets on stage, he makes a lot of very bold statements about like, be a good fucking person. It's not that hard. That's Bella. Bella would crash out. Bella would go to their house and kill them with her guitar. No, she wouldn't kill them, because if she killed them, they wouldn't learn from their mistake, but she would make them suffer, and then she'd like have a concert, and then during her concert, she would like call them out publicly, make sure everybody knew that they were a horrible person. Benedict would whisper it. Benedict was whisper it, but then be like, just kidding, you didn't hear anything. Benjamin would not. He just wouldn't. He's a golden retriever, literally. Would not, could not, should not. Actually, would not and doesn't know what it means, I would go as far to say. Bertha would not and would be shook. Bettina Bettina. There's a lot of things I could do with you, Bettina. There's a lot of thoughts I'm having about you, Bettina. Bettina, I think... I just think would not. Bettina wouldn't have any strong reaction. Bettina might just be like, oh, that sucks that happened, but she's not gonna say it, you know? Bianca, another one a friend had who I loved. I think that Bianca would, but wouldn't know what it means. Bianca would do it and then be like, what? Who? What? And then she wouldn't cry, but she'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, so my bad. And that's how she would handle that situation. All right, let's go to Booker. This is gonna be an easy one for me. They are dogs, and we love that, but they're also cops. I believe Booker would say it to your face. You know, a cop is a cop. I believe Booker would say it to your face, and he believes he has the cop privilege to do that and get away with it. You know what I mean? I believe, again, Booker and his friend, what's his friend's name? Copper, you know, they're nice. They were funny characters, but like I think that they would say it. They have that kind of feeling of white privilege, you know? Then I'm gonna stand by that. And Brewster as well. Let's get Brewster in here. Brewster is a very easy one. Brewster would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. Brewster would be like, he's kind of the quiet mafia kind of type, like Audie, you know, where he's like, you're crying, you're having like, you know, your coffee at the Roost, and like maybe someone says it in front of him and he just like is cleaning his cup and he pauses and looks up and then he keeps cleaning it, and then like he puts a laxative in their coffee next time. He doesn't need to go after them because the Roost is the place to be. They'll be back. He just makes them the worst cup of coffee. Everyone's like, the Roost is so good, and the guy who called you a slur is like, well, I don't know, guys, it's not that good, you know, it's really bad. Everyone's like, no, that's just a you issue. It's just a you issue. Everyone else loves it. And then it would also make them go a little bit crazy and seem crazy, and he would love that. Honestly, diabolical, and I'm impressed. All right, Biff the hippo. Biff the hippo would but wouldn't know what it means. Classic jock behavior. Big Top looks so sad. I'm gonna say would not. Wouldn't cry. He cries about everything else, so he doesn't need to cry about this. You know, he's already crying probably as we get there. Bill would whisper it. Bill would, you know, you wouldn't know what's coming for sure. Billy also gives me the vibes of would say it to your face. He seems like an older guy. And an older guy who would be like, you know, oh, that's just what we said. Like, he came from a different kind of small town. That was how they talked, and he's not willing to give that up yet. I don't know that he means it. Like, it is a bad thing to say, but, you know, he's just uneducated, if we will. Biscuit would say it on the internet, but not in person. You know, he's got a Twitter account. He goes a little crazy, but you can't really attach it to him. You can't tell that it's him. Biddy the hippo, I think would whisper it to you. No, I think Biddy would, but would deny it. Biddy would say it loud, and you'd say, what? And then they'd say, I didn't say that. You're crazy, and gaslight you about it. And Blair would also say it. I'm gonna say it. Blair would also say it and then immediately deny it. Yeah, right? This is the gaslighting tier. 7, that's correct. Blair would say it, but then be like, I didn't say that. No, that's crazy. Gaslighting tier for sure. Blanche is classy. Blanche would not and would throw hands, but again, in a classy way. You know what I mean? Blanche would start spreading like gossip about them at their local like elite tea club. Like, did you hear about so-and-so? And so it would get back, like people start avoiding that person, you know? That's what I think about Blanche. Blue Bear would and doesn't know what it means. Blue Bear heard it somewhere. Blue Bear is a sweetheart, you know, thinks it's maybe a cool new slang, and you say, Blue Bear, that's not what it means. She goes, oh, and gets really quiet. And he goes, my bad, you know, feels bad. Bob would say it and repeat it, just because he's kind of an IRL rage baiter. I think he says controversial things, not because he necessarily believes them or stands by them, but because they're problematic, and he likes being a little problematic. He likes stirring the pot, as they speak, even in the worst ways. You're like, Bob, there's other ways that you can like create a little drama and not be so problematic, but he doesn't want that. He wants to be problematic. That's kind of where he's at. Bon. would whisper it for sure. Again, she's a sweetheart. You're on your way at the door. As another noise is being said, she whispers, and then you just, she's like, I didn't say that. I never said that. Bones, ooh. I think Bones is too lazy to. I would say Bones would not. He's too lazy to say it, and he's too lazy to defend you from someone saying it. He's like, that sucks. And he's off with his life. Boomer. Boomer would deny it. You know? For sure. Maybe even I would say would in private. You know? Would in private say it, but maybe not like publicly. So like unless you had a camera in his house, which would be crazy, but you do you know, you wouldn't know. Boone, I'm gonna say, again, wouldn't know what it means. He heard it somewhere. He thinks it's probably fine. When he finds out, he feels a little bad, but mostly is confused about words in general and how words work. Boots would not. Boots is a cool guy. He's a cool alligator. Boots just, he doesn't have it in him. He doesn't need that. Boris would repeat it. Boris would say it, would repeat it, would say it to your face, would call your mom on the phone and say it to your mom about you. For sure, he's angry, he's upset, he's got a lot of issues. But the mayors, oh, don't worry, we got him down here. The player's character, that depends on you. You're the player technically, you know, in my mind. Boyd would say it to your face. Again, wouldn't repeat it. He'd just say it loud and proud. Bree's another one who's on the internet shitposting. Bree's on the internet, typing it up. You can't trace it back to her. Bracolo would not and would cry. It would cry for a million different, it would be so upset for you, for him, for everything. Bracolo's a cool guy and very sensitive, and you know that's important. Brofina would whisper it. Again. Probably would gossip about it. Actually, I'd probably put it in the would but would deny it, because we're in the gaslighter. We're in the gaslighter phase of things, you know? Very gaslighting. She would but would deny it. She'd whisper it. She'd spread rumors about it. You know, if you see a favorite character, pop in. Give me your takes.
As long as Scoot gets away with this, because I love Scoot. Scoot is my favorite. Is Scoot your favorite? Do you like Scoot? You like Scoot. Don't say shit about Scoot. I'm waiting to hear what she's gonna say about Scoot, because I'm gonna throw hands. Scoot!
Bruce. God, there's so many of these bitches. Bruce would whisper it, for sure. Bubbles. I think Bubbles would say it to your face. Again, Bubbles would be like, I said what I said. Deal. You know, Buck I had Buck in a later game, so I think I can very solidly say that Buck would not only say it but would repeat it multiple times. And if you said, Buck, you can't say that, he would go buck wild, so to speak, and go a little bit like ape shit crazy. Different generation, not an excuse, but he has no willingness to learn or grow, you know, just is one of the worst people you'll ever meet. Sorry, worst horses you'll ever meet. Be respectful here. Bud would not and would be shook. He'd be like, whoa, man, what? For real? Bunny would whisper it. I don't care what you say. Butch. Butch is a little cranky, but I'm gonna say would not for the same reason that Butch is like, doesn't care enough. Either way. Wouldn't feel bad for you, wouldn't say it to you. He's got his own life. And finally for the bees, we got Buzz. And Buzz is another shit poster on the internet. Yeah, that feels good. That feels good. All right, moving down, let's get some CJ on here. CJ, our fishing master. I don't think he would. I don't think I'm tempted to just say would not. I don't think he'd be shook. I don't think he'd throw hands for you. I don't think he'd cry. I just think he would be like, oh, that's crazy that someone would say that. Look at this cool tuna I caught, you know? Like, he's got other priorities. If you said something like a slur about a fish, that'd be like, then he'd throw hands. That's as far as he goes. Wow, Bond, I love that for you. Bond's like, whatever you want to call me, just call me for dinner. Yeah, he's an internet guy. Yeah, so he knows what it means. He knows it's bad. He just wouldn't say it. Celeste, where's Celeste? Where are you, girl? Oh, let's crack our neck. Celeste. Where is she? Do I not have her? Where is she? Am I scrolling right over her? I know I saw her. There she is! Celeste would not and would throw hands. Celeste, again, is the one going to Blathers and was like, that's not what that means. And Blathers is now punishing himself, and she's like, you don't have to do that, Blathers. That's a little extreme. He's like, no, I must! But she would throw hands. She would have something to say. She would have a problem with it. It'd be an issue for her. And you know, like, she would probably consult the stars and be like, what's their star sign? And then gives them, like, a bad astrology reading, but makes it happen. So, yeah, Bond's right. She's the one girl who tries really hard not to offend anybody, for sure. She's very conscious of that. She's a sweetheart. Callie would deny it. Again, Callie spreading gossips. Callie's a gaslighter. Camo Frog, I'm gonna say 100% would say it to your face and then tell you that's just a part of life. That's just life. That's just life, buddy. That's the words. You gotta get used to it. That's his excuse for it, you know? That's what he'd say. Canberra would not, M would throw hands. M would actually maybe come, like, she's strong. She's a good ally to have on your side. Candy, I'm gonna say internet. Candy's an internet poster. She's so sweet, right? So you would never think about it, but then she's out there on Reddit, on Twitter, just saying shit. Carmen, I'm gonna say would not and would cry. Carmen would not and would cry for multiple reasons. Invite you over for tea, you know what I mean? Help you out, you know, have a cute little self-care sleepover to try to make you feel better about what was said. Caroline, I'm gonna say would not and would be shook. Caroline's gonna be like, what? You know, she wouldn't say it, but she would be shook. Carrie, again, another kangaroo, would not and would be shook for the same reason as the first kangaroo. Why are you even saying this or implying this around my 5-year-old kangaroo baby? You know, that's crazy. So, you know, she's not here for this. Cashmere would, but would deny it. He gives rich people privilege vibes, you know what I mean? Like, he would say it in a, no, and you'd say, did you say that? He goes, oh no, of course not. How could you say that about me? You know, and he'd make it about, like, himself, and then he'd turn it on you. Very toxic. Celia, I did have her once. She's a sweetheart. Would not and would be shook. Would not and would be like, oh my god, what? Somebody said that to you? That's absolutely crazy. All right. Let's go to our next one. So our next NPC, we got Copper. Again, they're cops. I don't know what to tell you. Same thing as me, would say it to your face. Probably was trained in that language, you know, in the academy. Probably doesn't even know, but like it's gonna stick by it. You know, a little sad, but you know, it is what it is. Cesar would not, it would be shook. Cheddar would on the internet, but not in person. I'm putting all the mice in here. Hold on, that feels bad. No, I have a mouse down here. Yeah, I'm down here. Okay, it's not all the mice, but Cheddar just strikes me someone who would on the internet, shit poster, thinks it's funny, thinks it's okay, you know, like, everyone says it on the internet, so it doesn't really mean anything, and that's his excuse. Shy, my sweetheart, would not and would be shook. Would not and would be shook that you thought that of her, that you accused that someone, you know, talked to her about that. Charlize would not, wouldn't be sad, wouldn't be angry. I just would not do it. Cherry would but wouldn't know what it means. Cherry's trying to be cool. Cherry's trying to fit in. Cherry's trying really hard to fit in, actually. Cherry really wants to fit in. So she hears someone saying it and goes, that's the new slang. Again, you're like, Cherry, that's not it. And she's like, oh shit, my bad. That's Cherry. Cherry's one I also have. Cherry's also very punk rock, but I don't think she'd throw hands like Bella would. Bella would throw hands. Cherry, I think, would be shook, but like, she wouldn't do it. She's not that kind of dog, you know? Chester would not and would cry. Chester not only wouldn't, but would be in tears, would be devastated. And Chevray, wouldn't know what it means. Chevray's well-meaning, Chevre's just kind of like, oh shoot, my bad, and then moves on. Doesn't feel that bad about it. It's like, well, I know now. So Chief, listen, you might not like it, but I think Chief would say it to your face. Chief strikes, he's a high up, like executive type person. He's rich, he's got money, he's got power. Was probably raised on that silver spoon. I'm painting a picture for him right now. And I just believe that he gets away with saying a lot of stuff, you know, due to his privilege. And so he would say it and he would not feel bad about it. Chops would not in general. Wouldn't cry, wouldn't be mad. He just would not. Chow, Chow would not and would throw hands, but not because Chow necessarily is offended for you, but because Chow just likes to throw hands in general. Chow is looking for a fight, whoever you may be. You know, it doesn't matter what the motivation is. Chow is like, we're going. Chrissy I also had. Chrissy would but would deny it. Listen, Chrissy's a sweetheart, and I think Chrissy would be gossiping, and it would kind of get around that she said that. You'd say, Chrissy, did you say that about me? And she'd be like, what? No. And then she'd be like, who told? Who told on me? Okay? Because I don't say those things. I just said it the one time. It was different, but she did say it. And, you know, Claude, another internet shit poster. Claude is another internet shit poster. I'm just saying. Claudia, just simply would not. Claudia's got enough on her plate. Okay? She doesn't have time to defend you or attack you. You tell her this happened and she's like, oh, well, that is, that's unfortunate. That's kind of the length of her care, you know? She's like, damn, crazy. Clay would not and would cry. Cleo is a horse and would whisper it. That's my reasoning, is that she's a horse, so she would whisper it. Clyde would not know what it means. He's just a little stupid. Coach, I think Coach would and would repeat it. You know, he would and he would stand by it. He would and he would stand by what he says. Cobb would and would repeat it. Cobb scares me. Cobb freaks me out a little bit. Cobb might say it just to get your reaction, just to see what would happen. You know, just to, again, rage baiting in real life. Coco would not and would cry. Yeah, Coco would cry from her hollow eyes. Coco would not and would be so upset and offended. She'd be devastated. Cole just would not. Cole doesn't care either way. Cole's, you know, Cole just like, yeah, you know what I mean? It doesn't care either way. Cyrus is another one I believe would but wouldn't know what it means. You know, again, he's a funny guy to me. Love him and his wife. He would not know what it means, and his wife would have to be like, sweetie, you can't say that. And he's like, what? Oh my God, he'd feel bad. He would write, yeah, Reese would tell him, he'd write you a handwritten apology letter with like a coupon for the shop. So, okay, I'm gonna tell you my horse beef really quick. So you should know, I have a friend who a horse gave birth on. And that started the beef. And then the friend was told they could not move because it would spook the horse. So they had to sit there for hours at 2 a.m. covered in horse baby and afterbirth and all the stuff that happens when a horse, I know I'm 100% serious right now, that gives birth for probably 5 or 6 hours. And then they didn't have a shower at the farm. So in order to clean them off, they just hosed them off, clothes and all, gave them a towel and sent them home. And we're like, thanks for assisting with the horse birth. Like, they called me the next day and were like, I'm traumatized, and told me what was going on. So when I say it's a horse, like, there's beef with horses for a reason, all right? Like, a horse traumatized my friend. Like, I'm weary of horses, you know? Guys, at any given moment, a horse might show up at your door, break in, and then give birth on you. And you have to sit there and take it. And that's nothing you can do. Keep that in mind. I believe in horse rights, but not necessarily horse wrongs. On that one, Colton would not and would be shook that somebody would call you that. We got Cookie. Cookie is so sweet. Cookie would, again, does not know what it means. Means well. Cousteau would not and would throw hands. Would not. Cousteau strikes me as Italian. I don't know, they don't really have like places they're from, you know, they're ambiguous, but he's recognized an Italian, and he'd be like, Mamma mia! First, he would have to like make a pizza about it, then he would have to make spaghetti about it, and then he would have to burn down that person's house. That is Editor Brisk is Italian. I'm sure Editor Brisk is gonna put a video of himself in right now, probably saying that that's exactly how it goes, and that's exactly like when his blood boils, that's his first instincts.
What are your thoughts? Oh, those are some strong thoughts. Those are some strong thoughts you got there.
Thank you, Brisk Apollo, Editor Brisk, for confirming and telling me that I'm right. I love being right. Cranston, Wood doesn't know what it means. My mom had Cranston. Cranston is a funny guy. Cranston is he is a hysterical villager. If you are still playing, get Cranston as a villager. He's weird, he's great, he's a funky dude. Again, he wouldn't know what it means, would feel bad afterwards. Croquet! Would not and would cry. He doesn't seem like it, but very emotional guy. Very emotional guy. Cube is an internet shit poster. Look at this row of internet shit posters right here, you guys. Look out for these guys, all right? The internet shit posters and the gaslighters. That's who you gotta really look out for. Carlos, I believe, would whisper it. You know, you wouldn't be able to call him on it. Wouldn't really be able to know. Curly, I say would and would deny it. Another gaslighter for you. But there is my favorite Animal Crossing character, which is Editor Brisk Apollo. Where I think Editor Brisk falls on this specifically is would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. Editor Brisk would not only be offended for you, be offended because it happened, be angry, be sad. He might cry a little bit too. He's in touch with his emotions.
Oh boy, the moment, oh. Brings a tear to my eye every time. Brings a sad tear to my eye.
But he would then also throw hands.
This man is a racist. He is a bad person. He's a bad man. He did not need to be redeemed. He literally, even though he feels bad for what he did to Roxas and Nominate, it doesn't change it, honestly. The fact that he went through and just was like, you filthy nobodies, you lowly beings should never exist. And then now he's like, I died and now my life has changed. And I'm just like, okay.
Kurt absolutely would and would repeat it. Kurt would say it, stand by it, repeat it. What animal is Brisk? Italian. Sid, internet shit poster. Look at his face. He's like, heh, heh, heh. A little smug. Internet shit poster, Sid. Cyrano, would not. Doesn't care either way. Daisy would, but again, wouldn't know what it means. She's very sweet. I love Daisy. Never had Daisy, but I do think she's a sweetheart. Yeah, she just doesn't know what it means. She's never, it's not really in her vocabulary, and then you tell her and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Dina would not and would cry. She would cry. She'd be devastated. Deirdre, I believe Deirdre just would not. Deirdre would not. Doesn't care much either way. Del, I would say... I would say would not. Del would not. Deli's another internet shit poster. I believe Deli would on the internet, but then deny it. Then he would absolutely deny it. Derwin would not and would cry. Diana, she's a gaslighter. Actually, I put her in the would deny it category because she's like Chrissy, where like she's probably at the tea time with Chrissy and they're like sharing it and then it gets passed around and she's like, I didn't say this. Who said I said this? She's gonna deny it, but she absolutely did say it. Diva. Diva's such a diva though. Diva would not and would be shook and would be a diva about it. Dizzy would not and would be shook as well. Would not, would be shook. Okay, Dobie. All right, Dobie. I have Dobie in my village, so I have to be completely honest about this one. Dobie absolutely would and would repeat it. I love Dobie, but again, he's an old guy, and he doesn't really want to learn the new ways, and he is not really, you know what I mean? Like it's not that it's like out of meanness. It's out of willingness to learn. It's out of lack of intelligence. He's not smart enough to learn past when he was raised, and he doesn't care to, which I think is a fault in a personality. But because of that, he would say it, he would repeat it, he'd probably be like, well, back in my day, you know. Doc would not and would be shook. Dom I have, Dom I love. Dom would not and would cry. You would think Dom would not and would throw hands, but you would be incorrect. Dom would not and he would sob about it. Dom is actually quickly became one of my favorite villagers. He's so funny, but he would be like, he would cry and say, I'm gonna go use my muscles and I'm gonna go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you'd be like, it's okay, Dom. And then you would have to comfort him and you'd have to get him a little treat to calm down. Yeah, that's 100% Dom. Daisy May. Where's Daisy May? Daisy May is young, but I believe that Daisy May would whisper it. You can argue with me all you want. I believe that Daisy May would 100% under her breath, you know. I think she'd just, you know, wouldn't say it to your face, wouldn't say it on the internet. It just kind of, maybe she would think it really loud, you know. But she knows she can't say it, but like, you know. Dora would not and would cry. Period. Dottie wouldn't know what it means. Drago would not and would throw hands. Would not and would get mad about it. But he's lazy, so like his anger is like, whoa. All right, here's what we gotta do. We're gonna order a pizza. We're gonna watch a really good TV show. We're gonna get our mind off it. But he's gonna do it angrily. Drake would and would say it to your face and would repeat it. 100%. Drift. I believe Drift would say it to your face. But he'd say it with a smile. He'd be like, oh, this. Like, he knows what it means. He just choosing to believe it doesn't mean that. And when you say that's what it means, he goes, nah, don't worry about it. You're like, don't worry about what? You can't say that. Oh, we got Emo Horse Ed. I'm going to say would not and would cry. Would not and again would be devastated. Listen to the Black Parade about it to feel better. Egbert simply would not. Egbert's got his own stuff going on. Elise absolutely is a gaslighter. So Elise is one that would say it and then would deny it. Elise and Chrissy and Diana, this is their lunch, that they get together and they say atrocities and then deny that they did it, but then tell on each other. That's their hobby. All right, we got Digby up next. Digby. Digby would, but would deny it. Digby's not in the club with the others. Digby just like in a private conversation with his sister, they both like said it, you know, and as siblings, they're not gonna tell on each other. But if you overheard and asked, he'd be like, what? No, what? What are you talking about? That's crazy. I would never say that's, oh my God. You know, he'd be really like upset, you know, performatively upset. Not really. He'd just be more upset that you heard and he'd be like, I gotta be quieter. Make sure the door's closed next time. Let's see. Ellie would not and would not care either way. Elmer also would not care either way. Eloise would whisper it. She'd whisper it. Again, you couldn't, what'd you say? What? We don't know. Elvis would and would say it to your face. He's dressed as like a dictator, as like a king, you know what I mean? Like obviously, I know it's supposed to be king of the jungle. Clearly, he likes the abuse of power. I think he would say it to make himself feel better than everybody else. And they'd all cancel him. And then he would be like, whatever, that's the life of a, you know, powerful person. And he'd probably like go into his feelings about it, and nobody cared because they'd be like, Elvis, you're kind of a shit person or lion, and he'd keep going. You know, he'd just move from island to island until he gets kicked out every single time. Eric wouldn't be upset either way. He'd be like, that's a bummer. Eugene would say it to your face. Like he'd say it on stage. Eugene would take a microphone and he'd be performing and he'd say, and you over there, and just call you a slur in the middle of the show. That's him. Jan, I'm worried about your taste in villagers, actually. It's concerning. Eunice would not. Again, Eunice stays out of that side of things. Oh, Fang Fang. I believe that he would not, and he would throw hands. Fang not only would not, Fang would go to bat for you. Fauna, a friend also has. Fauna would, but doesn't know what it means. You know, Fauna heard it somewhere. Fauna thinks it's a fun little word. You tell her, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She might say it 1 or 2 more times though, and use the excuse I didn't know what it meant. And then after 3 or 4 times, she'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna say it anymore. But she'd do it 2 or 3 times first. Felicity, just simply would not. Felicity would mind her business. Filbert also would not. Would mind his business. Rossetti, hold on. I feel like there's I'm gonna add a row above. And that row is just gonna be the Rossetti row. Rossetti would absolutely say it. Rossetti would say worse things than slurs. There's nothing Rossetti wouldn't say. There are no limits for Rossetti. There's no guilt for Rossetti. There's no, issue for Rossetti. Rossetti doesn't care about that you cancel him. Doesn't care. Like, Rossetti doesn't give a fuck. He gives a fuck if you quit without saving. If you do that, he's on your ass. He'll call you every name in the book. He'll make up names. He'll call you slurs you didn't know existed. All right? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. You should have saved your game. All right? If you save your game, he won't call you anything to your face. So simply save your game and you don't have to worry about it. Easy. Easy, easy. Flip, internet shit poster, for sure for Flip. Flo, ooh, Flo's very punk rock. I don't think she'd go to bat for you. I think she just would not do it. Just simply would not. Flora's also a sweetheart. I think Flora would not and would be shook. Flurry would whisper it. Flurry would like under their breath, for sure, for sure. Frank, I think 100% would say it to your face. Frank's gonna say it, but Frank's gonna own up to it. You know what I mean? He's like, if I'm gonna say it, I'll say it was me. And that is a weird respect about that I have. Freckles, I would say would not and would cry. Would not and would cry and would be very emotional. Freya's in the Gaslighter Club. Freya would deny it. Freya's at the luncheon with the other 3. She's one of the ones at the luncheon who's, they're saying things that they don't want repeated, and of course they all repeated about each other. That's how it goes. Frigga! Frigga would say it to your face. Frigga's, yeah, she'd be like, just so you know, I think this of you. And then she'd walk away. And she'd stand by it. I think Frida would cry. If someone said that to you, Frida would be very upset and would absolutely cry. Dr. Shrunk, which by the way is an axolotl. I don't know why I never put that together until literally 2 days ago. Dr. Shrunk would not and would be shook. I think as a mental health professional, he wants to be there for you, but first he would be like, I can't believe that happened to you, and he'd like really be like, oh my God, I can't believe. And then we'd talk about it. We'd have some therapy about it at that point. Flick is also very punk rock, but Flick would cry. Flick would want to go to bat for you. Flick would want to fight for you, but Flick is an emotional guy. So he's like Dom, where he's gonna cry and be like, I will go beat him up. And then you're like, no, it's okay, Flick, you don't have to do that. And then he would like catch you like a beetle and be like, I got you a really cool beetle. Whether you like that beetle or not, it's a gift of love. Frogbert would say it, doesn't know what he means. Whoa, Bond! Yeah, Flick and CJ are into some weird stuff, as we know. Fuchsia, another one, is a gaslighter and would deny it. She's at the table having tea. All right, we've got Gabby. Gabby would not. Gabby's minding their business. Gala absolutely would not and would be shook. What do you think of her? She'd make it about her though. Like, well, how could you accuse me of that? All right, Franklin, the Thanksgiving turkey, would not and would cry. He's been called a lot of things, okay? Look at how sad he is. He's been through a lot. People try to eat him every year. So he would cry for you, with you. He's probably being called it at the same time as you, you know? There's a solidarity there. It's a bummer, but like, you know, at least you're all in this together, as they say. Gaston would say it to your face. Wouldn't repeat it, but he'd say it to your face. Said he has his own category. Would say it to your face. Oh, Gail. Gail is so sweet. But I believe she doesn't feel any certain way. She just would not. Genji would on the internet. Absolute internet shit poster. Gigi is at the table of gaslighters. Would say it, would deny it. Gladys, another one a friend of mine has, very sweet, would not and would be shook at the idea of it. Shook at the idea. All right, let's go to Gracie, the fashion designer. Gracie would say it to your face, but only if you're dressed poorly. If you're dressed poorly, she'd be like, I can call you whatever I want because you don't matter as a person. You've hurt humanity and species and the world by what you're wearing, so there are no consequences to my actions of saying this about you. But if you change, she'd stop calling you, you know, names. For sure, for sure. Gloria, again, is at the table, all right? Would say it, would deny it. Goldie I had for a while. She's a sweetheart. And not only would she not say it, she would cry. Let's see. Gonzo would say it, would repeat it multiple times. Goose, I'm gonna say would say it, but does not know what it means. Graham would say it on the internet. Like, look at him. Look at his face. Graham's absolutely on the internet saying shit and thinking he can get away with it. Greta, I also had. I'm gonna put in would not, because she doesn't care, she's minding her business. Grizzly is another one, would say it and would repeat it. Would say it and would stand by it. Groucho would not and would throw hands at anybody who said it. Gruff would whisper it. Under his breath, you'd whisper it. Grams, absolutely. I might even put her in the Rossetti category, actually. I might put Grams there. Grams is old as fuck. Grams gonna say whatever she wants. Grams doesn't give a fuck, okay? She's old, she's rich, she owns an island. Her family makes excuses for her. You know, they say things like, oh, she's old, she doesn't know any better. She knows better. She actively knows better and chooses to do it anyway. She's like, I'm gonna die soon anyway. Fuck it. Very problematic, in my opinion. All right, we've got Gwen. Gwen would not and would throw hands at somebody who did. Hamlet would, but he doesn't know what it means. Hamfree would whisper it. He's a whisperer, for sure, for sure. Hans, I think, would say it and repeat it. Would say it and repeat it. Harry would not. Harry's got other things going on. Harry's not unbothered. Hazel would not and would throw hands for you. Okay, would not and would throw hands for you. So regular Gulliver would not knowing what it means. You know, he heard it at sea, has no idea. You would tell him what it means and he would deny, like, no, it doesn't. No, he'd fight with you about it because it definitely does not mean that. He would know. But then he would go at home at night and like Google and be like, oh my God. But he would never say anything about it. He just would never say it again. Gulliver is a pirate and I believe he would and would repeat it. You know, I'd say he'd say it to your face. He wouldn't repeat it. He'd say it to your face. Pirates are crazy dudes. You know, pirates, they don't live by the laws. Pirates, they got the shock value going on. I think he definitely has that. All right, Henry would not. Hippux absolutely would, but would deny it. Hopkins would not and would be shook that you said that. Hopper would say it to your face. Hornsby would not and would cry. Huck would say it and would repeat it. I had Huck on my island at one point and he was a hater. Okay, he was a hater, didn't care for him. Hugh, I think, just simply would not, doesn't care either way. Igley, again, would not, doesn't care either way. For sure, for sure. Harriet, love Harriet, would not and would throw hands. More specifically, would throw scissors. All right, Harriet's got a lot of hair. She would wait for the person to come back in to get their hair done and dye it like a terrible color and give them the worst haircut ever. So she's someone who's also going to bat for you. Harvey is one who would say it to your face. I'm so sorry. Do love Harvey. Harvey's like, he's a stoner from the 70s. You'd say you can't say that. He'd go, what? For real? Why? And you'd explain why you can't say it, and he'd like zone out and be like, oh, cool, dude. This is my island. And then like he'd say it again. He'd be like, no, Harvey, you can't say that. And he'd be like, what? Oh, it's crazy, man. But he'd be too high. He can't retain information at that point. He can take pictures for you, though. I'll call you some names, but you'll say, Harvey, that's mean. He's like, what? Mean? Are they behind me? And you'd be like, no, Harvey. God damn it. That's Harvey. Ike would not. Jacob! I had Jacob. Oh, on a really old game. Jacob would not. Jacob minds his business. Jacques would whisper it for sure. Jambette would not and wouldn't care that you got called it anyway. Jay I had before. Jay would say it but not know what it means. Jay's another one. He's just a little stupid and just was like, what? He'd feel bad though afterwards. Jeremiah, I'm gonna say would not. Jitters, I'm gonna say absolutely would on the internet, but not to your face. Okay, Jeremiah for sure says it to your face, but it's in solidarity? Wait a minute, what? Like he walks in a room and is like, what's up, my blank? But yeah, okay, no, I can see, actually, hold on, Jen, that's a good point. I can actually see that for Jeremiah. So I'll say says it to your face, because he would say it, but in a way, yeah, in a way that's like a, for sure, Jen, that's a good point. That's a great point. He would say it, but yeah. It would be like a bit between you two, whether you like it or not. He's like, nah, man, it's our thing. You're like, it's not our thing, Jeremiah, it's not. Joey would not and would cry. Judy, as sweet and cute as she is, would and would deny it. She's not at the gossip table, okay, but she would say it and she would deny it. All right, let's see. Isabel. I think we all know where this one is going. Isabel would and would deny it. 100%, especially with all the changes you want made to the island and all the things you need to do and all the announcements. She's tired. She's overworked. She wants that island life. She kind of signed up for it, but she's also like, oh, why did I, she thinks you're really annoying, but she's so sweet. She's sweet to your face. But behind your back, she's saying all sorts of shit about you. To her brother Digby. Again, the door's closed, everything's off limits for them. They're saying whatever they want. Julia would not and would cry at the fact that someone called you that. Julian would say it and would repeat it, but not in like a, here's the thing, not in like a, well, would he? Hold on, I gotta evaluate Julian. Hi. Okay, Julian would say it and repeat it because it was probably in a classic thing. A classic movie, classic literature, classic show. And so he's probably quoting, some kind of media, And so he's like, no, it's okay because I'm quoting something. He'd be like, no, Julian, it's not okay. You can't drop that word. He'd be like, no, but they said this in the 20s. And you're like, well, it's not the 20s. Julian, and it'd be a whole thing. So that's what I think for Julian. June, I believe wouldn't and would be shook that you would think that. Kabuki would not and would throw hands. Not because Kabuki wants to defend you or feels like it's wrong, because Kabuki just really wants to throw hands. And that's a reason. Kat is at the table. All right? Would say it, would deny it. She's at the table with the other ones. They're gossiping. They're little freaks. Jingle, this is controversial, would say it to your face. Okay, Jingle's the Santa of the game. Santa's really old. Santa's been around for a long time. Time doesn't really exist to Santa. Santa's done some sus things. Santa, if you think about it, I mean, the whole story of Rudolph is Santa didn't give a fuck that Rudolph was being bullied, except then when Rudolph was useful to him, he was like, Rudolph, come over here. Let me see you for a second. Let me get a good look at you, He'd say it to your face, and you'd say, did Santa just say that to me? And he'd say, and he'd fly off, and you wouldn't really have time to process all of that. Keaton would not, doesn't care. Ken, I have Ken in my game. Ken would, for the same reason that Julian would, but he wouldn't repeat it. Ken would, because it's a part of it. Ken's like an actor and into filmmaking and stuff. So he would say it, again, quoting something. He wouldn't repeat it. You'd say, Ken, you can't say that. And he'd be like, all right. But he would start by saying it. Ketchup is a hater, and Ketchup would say it to your face. Kevin would not. Kevin doesn't care either way. Kid Cat would not and would cry. Very emotional. Kid simply would not and does not care. Kiki. All right, Kiki. I love Kiki. I believe Kiki would because Kiki doesn't know what it means. And, you say it, Kiki's like, I'm going to repeat that. But you also have to explain it to Kiki a couple times before she kind of gets what the problem is. She's like, what? What does it mean? What? Why is it bad? Kit also has a baby. But I believe that Kit would cry. You'd say it, and then she'd cry because you said it's around her and her kid, and you accused her, and you know what I mean, whatever. Kitty is at the table. She's at the gaslight table for sure. All right, we got Joan. Joan is older. Now, I believe that Joan would not. Joan minds her business. Joan stays in her lane. Captain is a sailor. I believe he would say it to your face, but he wouldn't be saying it about you or anyone. It would be in an old sea shanty, like the pirate thing going on, and it'd be in the song. And he'd be like, that is a sea shanty passed down by generations. I'm not changing it. And so you'd have to sit there in his boat and be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Wow, you're really out here doing that. Katrina would say it to your face if you don't pay her well enough. If she's like, you want your fortune read, and you say no, she'd say it. And you'd be like, whoa. And she'd be like, okay, get your fortune read. I believe that if you get a good fortune, she wouldn't say it. If you get a bad fortune, she would call you a slur on your way out because you're probably bringing bad luck near her by having a bad fortune. Claus would whisper it, little subtly. Knox would absolutely say it to your face. Kobe, I believe, would say it not knowing what it means. Again, we're going with that one. He just has no idea. Kyle would not. Kyle doesn't care. Kyle minds his business. Leonardo is a chef, all right? And he would say it and repeat it, but he's saying it to, like, his employees. He's like Gordon Ramsay, all right? When he's saying it, it's because they made shit food, and he needs them to know. Leopold would not and would throw hands. Leopold's one that you would go to be like, this happened to me, and he'd be like, interesting. Lily, I love. Lily would not. Minds her business. You know, Limburg, however, Limburg is an internet shit poster. On the internet is absolutely saying it, tweeting it, all of that. Oh, Lionel I don't want to put him in here, but he was, again, a theater person. He would say it because it was a part of classic literature. He would say it because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was written that way, and he's like, well, in history, you'd be like, well, listen, there's a lot of ways to, maybe we shouldn't say those things, and yeah, they're historical, let's learn from them maybe better, and he'd be like, but they're written there, and he'd have like a conversation about it. Lobo, I do know pretty well. Lobo just would not. Lobo doesn't care. Lolly would whisper it on your way out. Lopez would deny it. Would be like, I never said that. Kix would not and would be shook. And be like, bro, I'm so sorry someone said that to you. I'm so sorry. KK Slider. Here's the thing. Ugh. I think he would, but he would deny it. I think he would, and he would deny it. And I believe that he would maybe even sing it in a song. And he'd sing it right to you. And you'd say, KK, that's offensive. And he'd say, I never said that. I never sang it. I never said it. You'd say, KK, I have a video of you right here. And he'd be like, wow, what a deep fake you've made of me, right? He'd learn. He wouldn't do it again, but he couldn't admit that he did it in the first place. I also maybe put him in would, but doesn't know what it means. You know what I mean? Like, he said it not knowing what it means. He learns, but he's also not going to apologize, and he's not going to own up to it. And I stand by that. Louis would and would not know what it means. Lucha would not. He's got shit to do. Look at him. Lucky Lucky's a sweetheart. Lucky would not and would cry. Lucy. Yeah. Lucy would not. Lucy's minding their business. Lyman. Absolutely another internet shit poster. 100%. Mac would not and would cry hearing that someone called you that. Maddie would on the internet. Maddie's another shit poster. Mayelle is not. Mayelle's one of the gaslighters. Denies it. She's at the dinner table, gossiping with everybody else. Maggie would not and would cry. She's sensitive. She's sweet. Mallory would whisper it, like a little subtle on your way out. You couldn't catch her on it, but like, you know. Maple would not. She wouldn't be that emotional that it happened to you, but like, you know, So you feel like, oh, that's a bummer. Marcel also same, wouldn't care as much either way. Marcy simply would not, M would not care. And Marcy also doesn't care that her kid heard it. She's like, wow, okay, back off, just minding their business. Margie would not and would be shook. Marina, my beloved. I have Marina. I love Marina. I believe Marina would say it and not know what it means. Marina 100% would hear it somewhere, would say it, and then you'd be like, Marina, that's crazy. Actually, I would argue Marina would cry. Marina would probably cry. I think Marina's a little bit of a mix. Like, she'd say it, I don't know what it means, and then when you tell her what it means, she would cry. And she'd bake you like fresh bread as an apology. It'd be really emotional for her. LaBelle, I think, would whisper it under her breath. Leaf would not and would cry. Leaf would not and would cry and sob and would be very upset for you, for everybody involved. It'd be really hard for her. Marshall would not. Marshall minds his business. Marshall's not too, and you'd hear it. He wouldn't, like, he'd kind of walk by and be like, ooh, okay, that's kind of cringe, Matilda is at the dinner table, okay? And she is denying it, but she is at that, with her kid, by the way. Their kids learning these. Her first words probably are slurs, to be fair. Megan would whisper it. I'm sorry, Megan, but you would. Megan would whisper it on your way out. She'd have like some shit to say. Melba, I feel like would not. Melba minds their business. Meringue would not and would cry. Meringue's been called a lot of things, okay? Meringue looks like a meringue, a walking meringue. So she's very sensitive to those things as well. Mary is sweet and would say it and deny it. She's really cute and she knows she's got pretty privilege. So when she's like, no, I never said that. And you'd be like, well, yeah, she's like a sweet little kitty. So of course she didn't say that, but she absolutely did. Midge would not and kind of wouldn't care either way. Mint would be an internet shit poster. Mint's on there posting. Mira, I also had for a while. I love Mira. Mira would absolutely say it and have no idea what it means and then feel really bad. Miranda's an internet shit poster for sure. Mitzi, I know Mitzi. I think Mitzi wouldn't and would be shocked. Mo, I also know. Mo, you might think is innocent, you might think is sweet, but he's on the internet shit posting, okay? He's got aggression that he's never dealt with, and so he's out there taking it out on like the people on the internet. But they're also bullied, right? So they're also bullied all the time, but instead of taking that and wanting to be better, they take it and they put it out on the internet and but then pretend it's not them. Molly would not. Molly's gotta think, okay, Monique, I've had Monique. Monique would say it and would repeat it. Monique would say it, repeat it, double down on it, tweet it publicly. When they say you can't say that, she's like, I just did. She'd stick by it. Monty would not. He's like, look at his little face. He's like, he just has there for having a good time. Moose, I think, would whisper it. Try to get away with it. Mott would not. Mott's got his own stuff going on. Muffy would not and would throw hands, okay? That's the real bad bitch energy. Muffy would not and she would throw hands at somebody and she'd make their life hell, but in a really sweet way. Like it wouldn't be in an aggressive way where you could like pin it on her, but like it'd be little things that would like make this person's life miserable. Murphy, I think, would, but then would immediately again deny that it happened. Lloyd, I'm gonna say would, but wouldn't know what it means. Lloyd is he's a droid Lloyd. So whoever taught it to him, someone would have to teach it to him. You know what I mean? They'd have to teach it to him for him to learn it, and then he'd have to process that in his computer. Could he unlearn it? I don't know. Maybe it's like an AI thing where he's learned it, he's come too far, and now it's like, ooh, okay, that's the slur droid. Lottie, I believe, would not and would cry for you, with you, all those things. I believe that Luna simply would not. You might say, Luna, someone said this to me, and she'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's not really her business. She'd say that sucks. Okay, Nana would not. Nana's minding their business. Naomi. Oh, no, this is Nan. No, Nan was sweet. I like Nan. Nan would, not knowing what it means. Nan would hear it and then repeat it and then feel bad. Naomi is absolutely at the table. Would and then immediately denies it. Nate is too lazy. He would not. He doesn't care either way. Nibbles is sweet, which is why you wouldn't guess that she's whispering it, but she is whispering it. Norma is an internet shit poster, and she's so sweet. You would never guess. You would never guess. O'Hare simply would not, doesn't care. Octavian, another internet shit poster, would deny it, would not own up to it, but is on there every night, you know. Olaf would and would repeat it. And he, would he? Well, let me think about this one. I think Olaf just would be in the would not. Olaf's kind of in the mind your business category. You know, Olaf's kind of like, Lyle, would not and would be shook. Would not and would be absolutely shook that you thought that. Olive would whisper it. Sorry, Olive, you're cute, but it's true. Olivia would say it to your face, but not repeat it. You know, she might even learn from it. You say they can't say that, and you explain to her why she can't say that. She might even learn from it. Might, maybe, you know. Opal. Opal would not. Opal is in the mind your business category. Ozzy would, but doesn't know what it means. Pensetti would not and would cry. Pongo is at the table of gaslighters and denying it afterwards. Absolutely denying it afterwards. Mabel, the Able sisters, love them. Mabel would not and would be shook that anyone said it to you, that it was said in general, that anything, like she would be aghast, she would be appalled. Now on the other hand, her sister Sable would get even and throw hands. Okay, Mabel would be like, I'm so sorry that happened. Sable would be like, wow, that's so interesting. Who was it? You know, really quiet like. She's a scary one to not have on your side. Palo! Would not. Palo's minding their business. Poppy! I think Poppy would, not knowing what it means. And then he'd be like, oh, my bad. Pashmina would whisper it, you know. Pate, I think doesn't care either way, wouldn't say it, wouldn't care either way. I think Patty would say it and deny it, would say it and then say I didn't say that. And if you did catch her, would say, well, you know, she'd turn it around on you somehow, like you're accusing me of something, and it'd be, you know, messy. Nico would not and would cry. Nico's a sweetheart. Nico would not and would cry that somebody did do that to you. Paula is an internet shit poster, 100%. Peaches is also an internet shitposter. In fact, Peaches and Paula probably run a blog together. They probably run a joint account. You know what I mean? They take turns saying slurs on the internet, for all I know. Peanut would not. Peanut's minding their business. Peanut's got nowhere to be. Pecan is at the table of gaslighters. Would deny it, is having tea with them. Peck, I had Peck before. Peck would, but has no idea what he's saying. Orville would not. I don't think he'd be necessarily shook. He's flown all around the world. He's flown a lot of different people. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be shook. He just wouldn't say it. He's not that kind of guy. You know what I mean? I'm going to say Pascal. I'm going to put him in the would not. Because he wouldn't cry. He wouldn't throw hands. But Pascal would be like, how do you put it? Pascal would be like, bummer, man. And then he'd give you a really good like anecdote about life and about bullies, and it would make you feel a lot better. Like he would feel for you and he would be with you in the moment, but he wouldn't cry or fight. You know what I mean? Like if someone did that around him, he would just simply swim away. Pee-wee for sure would say it to your face. I had him at one point. He would say it to your face. Peggy would not. Peggy's minding their business. Peggy's in her own lane. Picoy, I was going to say would not, also minding their business. Penelope, however, Penelope would not and would cry that it happened to you. So that's, you know, something to note. Oh my God, do they not have Petri here? Petri, I love her. I went out of my way to get her. She's one of the new villagers. Oh, that's so sad. I was going to say Petri would say it not knowing what it means. 100%, because I have her in my village. I love her. Would say it, doesn't know what it means. Would then look up the origin of where it came from and then come back to you and tell you the origin of that word. And you'd be like, that's nice, I guess. She just likes information and would be happy to share it with you. Phil would whisper it. Phoebe Would deny it. Not at the gossip table, but just would deny it. Pierce would not. Pierce has got things to do. Pierce has got weights to lift. Petro would not and would throw hands for you, which is terrifying because Petro is a clown. That's a good ally to have and a bad enemy to have. He's got tricks up his sleeve that are really freaky deaky. All right, we got Pave. I think Pave would say it, and again, not know what it means. There's a little bit of a language barrier with Pave, so I'm gonna say that like Pave's doing their best and doesn't always know. And if you tell them, they're upset that they said it, you know, but they're also like, they're not gonna say it again. You know, Pinky would not. Piper would whisper it, for sure, would whisper it to you. Yeah, no, look at him, yeah. Pippi, I'm gonna say would not. Pippi's minding their business. Plucky, I do know. Plucky would say it and not know what it means and then feel really bad. Pom Pom would say it to your face and not apologize. Poncho would not. Poncho's minding their business. Poppy, I also had. Poppy also strikes me as would say it but doesn't know what it means. Portia, I had in an older game, and I love her, but I would say she would whisper it on your way out, 100%. Prince, just simply would not. Puck, I think would say it to your face, you know, and say that's how we talk. Pelly, so sweet. Pelly would not. Pelly would not, and she'd be like, oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry that happened to you. Pete, I also agree, would not. Pete would not. Pete, you know, Pete and Pelly, unproblematic kings and queens. Oh my God, do I not have Phyllis here? You guys know Phyllis. Phyllis would 100% go in the whisper category. If you catch her late at night, she would, but then would deny it the next morning. That's where Phyllis would go. Puddles would not and would cry hearing it. I would say Pudge also would not and would cry. She's different at night. True. Punchy would not. Punchy's too lazy. Punchy doesn't give a fuck. Purry would whisper it to you. Queenie's at the table. Queenie's a gaslighter, girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight, would, and then would deny it. Quilson simply would not. Quilson is minding their business. Ratty, I think, would whisper it, specifically while they're like operating on you. You know what I mean? They're operating on you and whispering slurs at you, which is really unfortunate. I think Rasher would say it to your face. 100%. Red would say it, would know what it means. I'd put him in the would, but would deny it, but not deny it in the way that he didn't say it. Deny it in the way that he's like, that's not what it means. And so you'd just be there for hours arguing with him, and he's like, that's not what it means. He'd start making up definitions, okay, to these words. He'd start making shit up on what it means. And you're like, no, crazy Red. And then he'd be like, listen, I'll tell you what, you buy this from me, we'll pretend it never happened, right? And he'd start to make it like a sales pitch. And you're like, that's not the point. The point is you shouldn't say it. And he's like, going once, going, all right, you got me, $10 cheaper. And then he'd say the slur and you'd say, no, crazy Red. He goes, I never said that. If you buy this, you know, he would make it like a thing. Reese, we already talked about Reese. Reese would not. Again, Cyrus would not know what it means. Reese would be the one being like, sweetie, you can't. Sweetie, that doesn't mean what you think it means. And then he writes the apology letter. Raymond, I believe, would whisper it. Raymond is the coolest. Everyone wants Raymond. Everyone loves Raymond. He's a villager everyone wanted. So if he whispered it and you thought you heard it, no one would believe you. Because he's popular. He's a cool guy. No one's going to be like, it was... No, Raymond, we love Raymond. You know, you would never catch him. He'd never get caught, you know, and you'd never hear it clearly enough to know he said it, to know it was from him. Yeah, I stand by that one. Renee would not. Renee minds their business. Renee, different Renee, is a horse and would say it to your face. I'm sorry, but she would say to your face. She'd say it in a brutal honesty way. She'd say it like, I'm just looking out for you kind of way. Oh, then you're like, what does that have to do with you looking out for me? Rex would not and would cry at being accused or cry that you got called that. Rhonda would not, minds their business. Rover, hear me out. Rover would, but would deny it. Rover's been in a lot of buses. Rover's been in a lot of trains. All right? Rover's met a lot of people, been a lot of places, knows a lot of words. would say it, you'd say, what was that? He goes, I don't know, what was that? Like, did you just say what I think you said? He goes, why don't you repeat it? You'd say, I don't want to. He goes, I guess we'll never know then. That's Rover. That's what Rover is to me, 100%. Ribbit would not. Ribbit's a robot, so not only would they not, but they wouldn't feel anything about it, you know? They could be programmed to, maybe, but I don't think they'd care. Ricky, I don't think Ricky cares. Wouldn't say it. Rizzo, oh, I do like Rizzo, but I would say Rizzo's a shit poster on the internet for sure. Rizzo's an internet shit poster. Roland, would not. Roland's minding their business. Robin, however, would whisper it. He'd whisper it on your way out. Rocco would say it and repeat it after he said it. He'd double down on it. Rocket would not and would be shook for you, with you, you know, whatever. Rodeo would say it not knowing what it means. Says it very in an innocent way, and then he goes, oh, my bad, my bad. Rodney absolutely says it to your face and repeats it. Says it and repeats it. But Rolf I had at one point, so I think I can confidently say Rolf would whisper it. I had him in my village at one point. Sahara would, but doesn't know what it means. Again, there's a language barrier there. Sahara, it doesn't say it to you. Doesn't say it about you. Sahara says it like in a way to describe her rugs. And you're like, why would you say that about anything? And then you're like, she's like, what does it mean, right? But she's like, describes her rugs using these slurs she heard that she thinks are good words. And then you gotta be like, no, Sahara, that's not what that means, you know? Then she goes, okay, will you buy my rug, you know? Rooney would whisper it. Rooney would whisper it for sure. Rory would not and would throw hands with somebody who did. Okay, Rory would be like, whoa. Roscoe, internet shit poster, you know, on the internet. Rosie would not and would be shocked. Let's see, Rowan, I think would but would deny it. You know, Ruby, I also think would deny it. Ruby's cute and like, so she'd think she can get away with it, you know? It's up to you whether you're gonna let her or not. Rudy, I think, would not and would cry. Would cry and sob that it happened. Snowboy, now this one depends on how you built him. If you built him perfectly, he would whisper it. If you built him mediumly, he wouldn't deny it. If you built him poorly, he would say it to your face. And if you built him the worst possible way, he's in the Rossetti category. And every time you walk by him, by your house, he's hurling slurs at you. He is, I mean, it's offensive. It's insane. In fact, Rossetti pops up outside your house by the snowman. It's just it's a time. It's a time to be had for sure. So that depends on how you build the snowman. You know, that's a little bit in your hands. Sally would not. Sally minds their business. Samson, I think Samson would whisper it. Try to get away with it. Sandy would not. Sandy's minding their business as well. Oh, Savannah. I think Savannah would say it and like just not know what it means, you know? Scoot would not and would cry that it happened to you.
Damn straight, that's my fucking goat. Scoot.
Sherry would not. Sherry, you know, minds their business. Timmy and Tommy would not. They know what it means. They know what it is. They're the ones telling Tom Nook, like, that's what that means and you can't say that, and then he feels bad. Tortimer, listen. Tortimer would repeat it. And I'm gonna also say it's the age thing. He's not really willing to learn. Or if you say you can't say that, he'll say, what? Huh? I mean, the truth is he can't hear you half the time. So even if you corrected him, he doesn't know what you're saying. You know, his ears are going, his eyes are going. He would say it, I don't think he means it in a bad way. It's bad, but it'd be like something generational. Yeah, it's an age thing. And when you try to teach him, you can't because he can't hear you. So it's kind of like, okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. You know, that's how you handle it. Yeah, Jan. He misheard and repeats the slur by accident, but then commits to it and thinks it's a hip new word he just learned. Yeah. Jan, 100%. I agree with that. All right. Sheldon would say it to your face. would say it right to your face. Shep is sweet. Shep just would not, minds their business. Sherb would and wouldn't knows, he doesn't know what it means. He says it, but has no idea. Simon would not. Simon minds their business. Sky, I'd say Sky might whisper it on the way out. You know what I mean? But you wouldn't expect it from Sky. Sly would, but does not know what it means. Snake is an online shit poster. Snake's online. 100%. Snooty, it's in the name. Snooty is at the dinner table. One of the gaslighter crews, okay? Gaslight, girl boss, gate bite. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. Soleil as well. Gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep crew. They're saying it, they're denying it, they're spreading it. Sparrow, I'm gonna say would not. Sparrow minds their business. Spike, I think would say it and then deny it immediately and make you think you're crazy. Spork would not and would cry. 100%. Sprinkle would not and would be shook. Sprocket, again, would not. Sprocket's also kind of a robot. You could program slurs into him. I don't know why you would, but like on a base level, he doesn't have those. Static. Listen, I'm sorry, Static, but Static would say it to your face. I had Static at one point. He would say it to your face. Stella's minding her business. She would not. She's minding her business. Wendell would not and would throw hands, okay? Again, Wendell's a quiet guy. So you would tell Wendell that he'd be kind of quiet and nod and just listen and listen and listen. And then next thing you know, you'd hear about something crazy that happened to that guy that did that to you. And he wouldn't say anything. And you wouldn't say anything. You know, Wilbur, I'm gonna go in the would not knows them. But just wouldn't, you know. Knows them, knows what they mean, doesn't use them. Sterling would and would repeat it. 100%, doubles down. Stinky would not and would cry. His name is Stinky, so he's definitely gone through some bullying. You know, he's had a hard time with that. So he's with you. You know, he's like, oh my God, people call me names all the time. Stitches, I think, would whisper it. And again, Stitches is cute, so you'd never, like, no, Stitches would never do that. But they did. They just did. Stu would not, doesn't care. Sydney would not, doesn't care. Sylvana is a whisperer on your way out the door. Sylvia would not and would throw hands with somebody who did to protect you. She's taking it personally. It happened to you, it basically happened to her. T-Bone would say it, but not in a, let's say, mean way. They're all mean ways. You shouldn't say it. He would say it thinking it's like a funny joke and that everyone's cool with it, and then when you're not cool with it, he'd be like, well, it was just a joke. It was just a joke, guys. It was just a joke. You know, he doubled down on the joke thing, you know, like he's not saying it hurling an insult at you, even though it is an insult. He's saying it because he thinks it's, you know, then he'd also go into the, what, can't we be funny anymore? Ha ha ha. And then it'd get really awkward and you'd be like, all right. Tabby would not and would be shook. Tad would not. Tad minds their business. Tammy, I think would, again, doesn't know what it means. Do I have two Tammys? Oh yeah, there's Tammy with an I and Tammy with a Y. Damn. This Tammy would say it to your face. This Tammy would look you in the eye and say it. Tank, oh yeah, we got Tangy, I think, would mind their business. Tank, I think, would say it, doesn't know what it means, no idea. Tasha would whisper it on the way out the door, would whisper it to you. Wisp, I would say, would whisper it. Not whisper, would whisper it. You see what I did there? I mean, Wisp is a ghost. Wisp is old. Wisp has probably heard it all. And also likes to fuck with you. You know, he fucks with you a lot. So I feel like it'd be a thing that, again, you couldn't prove it. You know, it'd just be fucking with you. Teddy, I want to say Teddy minds their business. Tex would, but would deny it afterwards. Tia's a sweetheart. Tia would not and would cry when she found out it happened to you. Tiffany would whisper it. She's a whisperer. She won't admit it, but she definitely did it. Timbra is at the table. She's a gaslighter. She's saying it, but then denying it afterwards. Tipper's gonna say it and double down. Tipper will say it and then say it again. Tom Would not. Tom's minding their business. Truffles is a whisperer, would whisper it on their way out. Tucker. Tucker would not, and Tucker would also throw hands. Tucker's coming to your defense. Tutu would not, and Tutu would cry that it happened. Twiggy. I think Twiggy would, but again, in the same boat of would say it, has no idea what it means. And same for Tybalt, would say it, but doesn't know what it means. Ursula is sweet. I would say she wouldn't and would be shook. Velma would say it and then deny it, for sure. Vesta, I think Vesta would mind their business. Vesta just would not engage. Vic, we're gonna say would not engage as well, too busy. Victoria is a whisperer. Sorry, Victoria, you're a whisperer. Violet is a would, but would deny it immediately after. Vivian, I think not only would she not, but she would go to bat for you. Vladimir would. He'd say it to your face, and he wouldn't feel bad about it. Guys, we're almost there. Home stretch. Wade. I think Wade minds his business. Wade would not. Walker, I think would, but again, doesn't know what it means. Walt would say it and repeat it over and over again and double down on it. Wart Jr., I think he would, but again, has no idea what it means. Weber is an internet shit poster. On internet for sure. Wendy, I think Wendy would say it, not know what it means. Whitney is a sweetheart. I actually think Whitney would not say it and would cry. Whitney would not say it and, like, she's really tough outwardly, but she would actually get really upset and, like, emotional that it happened to you. Willow is a whisperer. And again, she's cute, so she has pretty privilege, so you don't think she would. Winnie, I think Winnie would on the internet, but not in person. You know, Wolfgang would say it and have no idea what it means. He's saying it, full confidence. You tell him what it means and he goes, oh, and just gets really quiet. Doesn't apologize, but it doesn't happen again. Yuka minds their business. Zell, I would say Zell would just say it to your face. It just would just be like, yeah. And Zucker, I would say, would just be shook at that. And last but not least, we've got Zipper. And I truly believe that Zipper is a whisperer. Oh, where'd you go, Zipper? Zipper's a whisperer. I lost him somewhere in here. Oh, wait. There we go. No, he knows what it means. Zipper's a whisperer. Zipper would say it. Zipper knows what it means. Zipper's fully aware of what he's doing. It's quiet enough that you cannot catch Zipper. In fact, like, he might write some of the slurs in the eggs that you find. And then you'll say, Zipper, I found this egg with this word in it. And he's like, that's crazy. Must have been someone else. And you're like, Zipper, you're the only one doing this. He goes, I don't know. That's crazy. You know, he would never admit to it fully. So, holy shit. All right. Guys, that's our list. This took way longer than I thought it would. I'm screenshotting this right now for my, for editor Briss. This took way longer. There are so many of these guys. This was an insane feat in my where am I? There we go. In my mind, this was a really crazy thing to do. When I first had this idea, I don't know, I thought I would just do the NPCs, like the, you know, Isabel and Tom Nook, but then I was like, I should do the villagers, but then there's so many villagers. And I think we're even missing some villagers too. Some of the villagers are even missing here. You know, there's even more. And these are just the New Horizons one. What a great game that it has so much versatility and so many people to call you terrible, terrible things. Damn, all right. I'm happy. I'm glad we did this. I think the next tier list we do needs to be a little bit smaller, like how the Final Fantasy VII tier list was. Guys, put in the comments, join the Discord and put in the Discord what we should tier list next. We had what kind of gay each Final Fantasy VII character was. Now we've had would an Animal Crossing character call you a slur? What other rankings do I have written down, guys? Like, what are you interested in? You smash or pass Heartless, judging all of your hear me outs. Would I eat or not eat the Heartless? Ranking Kingdom Hearts characters on who can do math. That could be a fun one. Which Kingdom Hearts characters can and cannot do math. Ranking Star Rail characters. Ranking Disney princesses, Disney villains, you know. Could have some fun with them. I think we could really have a good time, if you will. All right, well, that's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.